Doma Sports Talk Worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. Now, this is a kind of a big week in the world of boxing, headlined by Shakur Stevenson versus Teofimo Lopez, right? That's a big fight. You got Mortazeliev. It's going to be in a fight, I think, against Josh Kelly. That's kind of a big fight. You got Abbas Bawu, who's being underestimated because they're talking about Xander Zayas, right? And I think Abbas gonna kick some ass. Abbas Bawu is underestimated, right? And he keeps doing stuff. He beat Tellis last fight, but he has a loss against Jack Kulkai. But Jack Kulkai is somebody in the 154-pound division who was also underestimated. Abbas Baru seems to be very strong-minded up here. And he's going to be fighting, your boy Xander Zayas, all right? Well, let's see what happens, right? But that's a big fight. And it's a couple of other fights that's going to be happening there that I can't think of right now. But it's a big fight. It's a big weekend of boxing. Now, prior to the weekend, we got big news against a former face of boxing, Gervonta Tank Davis, who I basically don't talk about much. But, he's had issues with domestic violence, and now he's on the run. Even U.S. Marshals are after him. It's like the fugitive and stuff like that, which is a bad thing. It's a bad thing. The young man should just go and turn himself in and see what happens. But, with this, he's been on the run for a minute here now. I just was kind of ignoring this situation, because you're just hoping for the best thing. You're hoping for him to, go turn himself in, see what's going to happen to him or whatever. But it just brings me to my point that I've been telling you guys. You guys is kind of new, right? Y'all don't know, but I wrote a book about domestic violence. Here it is. There it is. It's called Slapped, and here is sisters' lives are prematurely put in danger. Slapped. Now, when I just go through it and read the titles, right? It's like, damn, you was on point. Now, this is written 10 to 12 years ago, and this is before social media was as big as it is now. Everything's in social media, you got a whole tons of dating apps and stuff, 10, 15 years ago, wasn't that many, right? But, like, when you read this kind of thing, and just chapters of it, because it's coming from a ludicrous standpoint. The dude was mad when I wrote it. And I explained that in the first few pages. But it's a lot of reasons why domestic violence happens, and domestic violence goes throughout different cultures, different demographics and stuff like that. It's not like pedophilia, where pedophilia is basically one or two demographics. You know what I'm saying? Pedophilia, you have to talk to that demographic, right? We ain't gonna get into which. But it's not, pedophilia is not rampant in all demographics. Domestic violence is. And, so you have to prevent it from happening by talking about domestic violence at an early age, and not really domestic violence, but how relationships can go. And you need to talk about that at an early age, right when you're talking about the birds and the bees, or when you start talking about physical anatomy and the biology and stuff, and in pregnancy and how sex education and stuff like that. That's when this is supposed to be talked about, so they can be they can be how would you say it? They can learn about disappointments in relationships at an early age. And so I kind of talk about that. Here it is one more time. Slapped. Sisters' lives are prematurely put in danger. Go on Amazon. Put Doma Slap, go on there, get your copy. That's how you can support the channel. I don't ever ask you to like or subscribe. Y'all know that, whatever, because, man, you're probably not going to like. What I'm saying? A lot of things I'm saying, because I know it goes against the grain and the status quo, most of the things I talk about. So when we're going back to Gervonta Tank Davis, y'all, it starts with domestic violence. Most athletes, they got enough money to leave, basically. But, when you get money, you start thinking your own people, right? And therefore, somebody that probably want to leave your ass, or cheated on your ass, or didn't obey what you think they should, or act a certain way, then, they tend to, let them hands go, right? So and especially fighters, shoot, you got people more dangerous than boxers. UFC fighters, having domestic violence issues, right? Now you women, you better pick your people a little bit better, right? Remember, I say it in the book. Every time they're not always mad at someone else, right? If you get with a mob dude, that's it's cool because they mad at other people and you're okay with that. What's gonna happen when they get mad at you? Right? So I don't want to get into it. I kind of talk about those kind of things in the book and stuff like that. Bottom line is this, right? The man had a domestic violence issue, and we know that, and we should have helped him before it got to this point. Now he's out here, and running, from the police, running from the law, which is not going to make it better, y'all. So, even though I don't really have too much good to say about your boy Gervonta Tank Davis, normally in this case it's something different because I'm talking about sport and boxing and who he should fight and why he didn't want to fight this guy, and so I ain't talking about him because he's not chasing legacy, that kind of stuff. That's sport, right? Why I like certain boxers and why I don't talk about others. This is something different. This is about getting this young man's head straight, right? So at this particular time, you got to be serious and talk about that and that only. So I'm gonna leave it at this right now, right? And let's hope that the man does the right thing, the young man does the right thing, and get his stuff together. In this point of view, you know what I mean? It's not a good thing. It's not a good thing that the man's running from the law right now, but it's a serious thing, y'all. So let's hope for the best. God bless him. Let's hope he can get his stuff together so we can probably see him in the future in the ring. The way it's looking right now, that's a long shot. So good luck to your boy Gervonta Tank Davis. Let's hope that things get themselves together and work themselves out on the real. Doma Sports Talk Worldwide, and I'm about to here, y'all.